You can have you.
Main event of the evening.
Ready to race to you. These days are ours. These days are ours.
Hello and welcome to These Days Are Ours, a Happy Days podcast. I'm Peter.
And I'm Joe.
And today we are discussing the fourth theatrical feature made by Garry Marshall, Overboard.
Okay, Peter, tell us what happens in Overboard.
The incredibly wealthy Joanna Staten hires carpenter Dean Proffitt to remodel her closet on her millionaire husband Grant's yacht in 48 hours.
You're the carpenter?
Yeah, Dean Proffitt.
You're late.
Over the next 2 days, she abuses the people around her, and he ogles her. When he shows her the finished closet, with a nifty mechanism for more easily displaying the shoes, she gets on his case for using oak instead of cedar, even though she didn't say anything about cedar earlier. She refuses to pay him for the job done, and after an argument where he calls her a bitch, she pushes him off the yacht and throws his tools off for good measure.
I'm not going anywhere. Hey! Damn you!
When he gets back on land, Dean commiserates with his best friend Billy over the loss of his tools and the payment. Joanna complains about what happened to her mother over the phone, and also mentions Grant wanting to have a baby again. Her mother reminds her that if she has a baby, she won't be the baby anymore.
Well, I must go. Bye-bye, Mummy. Bye-bye, sweetie.
Dean returns home, where he meets with Adele Burbridge, principal of Elk Cove School. His 4 sons are starting school on Monday after having just moved to town, and when she went in to welcome them, they toilet papered her. Upon asking where Mrs. Proffitt is, she learns that their mother died 3 years ago. With Dean strapped for cash, he can't afford to hire a babysitter, which means his kids have very little adult supervision.
If you don't do something, I am going to notify the proper authorities.
That night on the yacht, Joanna realizes she forgot her wedding ring on the deck, so she leaves Grant in bed watching yacht sales on TV and goes up to get it. She slips and falls overboard, and her husband ignores her calls for help. The next morning, KRAB News reports that a mysterious amnesiac woman was picked up last night by a garbage scow.
The problem is she seems to be suffering from amnesia. She has no recollection of who she is.
Grant sees her on TV and goes to the hospital to pick her up. While she argues with the doctor about her inability to remember anything, Grant quickly excuses himself and returns to his yacht, single.
No, I never saw her before in my life.
At the bowling alley, Dean also sees Joanna on TV, and upon realizing she wouldn't recognize him, goes home to talk to his kids and stop by the Salvation Army. At the hospital, Dean greets Joanna as Annie, his wife of 13 years who he met at Hank's Donut World while she was in the Navy. She doesn't remember him, of course, and not even his grabbing and kissing her provides a spark of recognition. He does accurately describe a birthmark on her backside, though.
She does have a small strawberry-like birthmark. It's kind of high up on her left cheek. It's unique.
And the hospital staff is just happy to be rid of her. They return to Dean's home, which Annie is disgusted by, and meet their 4 rambunctious kids. Travis,
Greg,
Charlie, and Joey.
Hi, Mom! Hi, Mom! Hi, Mom! Gee, Mom, I really miss you. We're so glad you're back.
None of the dresses the boys got her from the Salvation Army fit her, and Dean has to claim that she recently lost a lot of weight and used to walk hunched over. Since the doctor said she had to get back to her normal routine, Dean tasks her with making dinner.
I prepared and handled raw food.
I hunt it, you cook it.
And upon lighting the stove, she burns herself, and 2 of the boys spray her with fire extinguishers. Then Dean leaves for the bowling alley, claiming to Annie that he does this every night and it's never bothered her before. There, Dean explains to Billy his plan to make Annie work off the money she owes him, and also specifies that while she's attractive, he's not attracted to her. When he gets home, he claims to her she jumped his bones on the first date.
I'm a short, fat slut.
She still doesn't want to have sex with him, and then Dean claims she usually sleeps on the living room couch. The next day, Annie prepares the boys' lunches for school, and Dean leaves her with a list of chores. After a housework montage, Annie is borderline catatonic. So Dean throws her into a rain barrel to snap her out of it. Annie starts looking for photographs of her life with Dean, and he claims that they must have gotten lost in the move. Upon seeing him play with his shirt a specific way, Annie starts to remember something, which ultimately doesn't go anywhere. Dean goes to Billy for help editing photos of him and Annie.
I'll do it, but if we get caught, it's your ass.
Grant is living it up on his yacht, and when his mother-in-law calls for Joanna, she's told her daughter is off shopping. Back at the house, Annie's hands are glued to plates as part of a prank by Charlie and Travis. She chews out Dean for his inability to discipline their kids, saying she now realizes why she chose to block all of this out. When he tries to claim this never bothered her before, she says it bothers her now. After serving them dessert,
Your chocolate cream pie.
she then proceeds to hose everyone down, after which she leads the boys on a wild goose chase in the forest that turns into a tickle fight. The next day at school, the boys don't want to take the tests that are meant to measure their potential, claiming to not feel well. Principal Burbage calls their parents, and Annie comes in. The principal complains about the boys' lack of discipline and claims their father is himself just a large child.
Children are slovenly, incorrigible, and being reared by a father who clearly isn't concerned about their welfare.
Annie realizes the boys have poison oak, and shoots at the principal and defends the boys. Dean, who also came in, quietly watches from the hallway. At home, Annie tends to the boys and learns that Joey can't read, even by the standards of his age.
He's embarrassed because he doesn't know how to read.
Well, he's a small child.
He can't read for a small child either. The teacher makes fun of him.
Annie stops Dean from leaving for the bowling alley. He needs to start taking on more grown-up responsibility. Does he even know that Joey can't read? Dean says he earns the money, that's his grown-up responsibility, and he and his boys are pals. Annie says the boys have enough pals, they need a father. Dean claims it's none of her business and runs out. When Dean gets home, Annie is herself covered with poison oak. He consoles her over her feeling ugly and having lost her wedding ring and carries her to bed.
We do like the way you look. Normally, you look real pretty. You just don't now.
He tells her a story about the time she saved someone from choking on a french fry with the Heimlich maneuver, then sleeps on the couch himself. During a lunch with the Prophets and Billy, Dean and Billy discuss their plans to build and open a miniature golf course. Annie suggests they theme it around foreign landmarks, and remembers all of a sudden that she speaks French.
Mais oui, la Tour Eiffel, comme c'est joli. I speak French.
One night, Annie realizes Dean has gone bowling without his ball, and learns that instead of going to the alley, he's been working night shifts at a fertilizer store. Dean and Billy pitch their miniature golf course to investors, and they get the money. During a montage of the course being built, Dean realizes that he needs to tell Annie the truth. While Annie is helping Joey with his reading, he asks her if she's going to leave, because sometimes moms do. She assures him she's not going anywhere. Dean tries to tell Annie the truth, but she thinks this is about his second job.
You don't have to be ashamed because you shovel fish guts. I'm proud of you no matter what you do.
Caught off guard, Dean claims today is Annie's birthday, and they go dancing. Afterwards, Dean recounts a love story between Arturo and Catalina, two lovers who drowned trying to find each other and were reunited at the bottom of the sea. Annie asks how old she is, and Dean claims 29. When they get home, they have sex. Joanna's mother calls Grant again, angry that it's been 2 months since she spoke to her daughter. If she doesn't hear from her in a week, she's going to hire mercenaries to castrate Grant.
I'll find her. I mean, you'll have your daughter soon. Bye.
The day of the golf course opening, Annie finds a mysterious pair of panties monogrammed JS in Dean's car. Her panties from when she fell overboard. Being amnesiac, she confronts Dean over his infidelity, and he finally tells her the truth that they aren't really married.
JS is you. These are yours and we're not married. There, God, I finally said it.
Annie doesn't believe him, and the boys don't help by refusing to play along with him. When Annie storms off because of how Dean is speaking to them, the boys tell their father that they want to keep her. When Dean protests that she doesn't belong to them, they remind him that that didn't stop him. Annie has gone to Billy for the truth, and Billy claims that the panties are his, from a girlfriend, and Dean was covering for him so Billy's wife wouldn't learn about what happened. The golf course opens and is a resounding success. Dean gives a speech where he thanks Annie for her imagination and creativity. When they get home, a limousine is parked in front of their house. Upon seeing Grant, Annie remembers who she really is.
The doctor said that my mind would come back suddenly, and he was right. I mean, I didn't believe him, but I saw you. I walked past you into the house, and poof, my memory came back.
Her childhood in New York, her mother, her money, and then her joy gives way to anger as she realizes that Dean tricked her and used her. As Joanna leaves with Grant, the boys try to chase after her. Joanna, Grant, and her mother spend the evening on the yacht with Dr. Corman, a psychiatrist trying to help Joanna reacclimate to her old life.
Dr. Corman, will she ever again be the debutante I raised?
Will she be one of us?
It's not going great. Joanna asks for a beer and helps give out hors d'oeuvres. Back at the Prophet house, the boys tell their father they want to bring Joanna back before she leaves for New York. Dean doesn't think she wants that. She's got a rich life and her rich husband back. Joanna, rather than spend the night with her husband, does shots with the yacht staff. She apologizes to Andrew the butler for her past treatment of him, and he says that Joanna has had the privilege of escaping her bonds to see what life is like for other people, and what she chooses to do with that is up to her. Joanna takes control of the boat to go back to Elk Cove. The next morning, Grant tries to take control back. Dean decides to reunite with Joanna with the help of Billy's old friends in the Coast Guard. Joanna is going to divorce Grant, regardless of where they go, and Grant lets slip that he knew that Joanna was in the hospital and he left her there.
How could you be such a slime?
Leaving Dr. Corman to stall Grant, Joanna tries to stop the boat and then turn it around. Upon hearing the Coast Guard boat, Joanna rushes back up, but the boat suddenly has to turn around because they got word of an illegal salmon fishing operation. Dean leaps off of his boat, and Joanna does the same. Grant tries to shoot her, so Andrew kicks him off the yacht and says he's giving notice. Dean and Joanna reunite in the water and are saved in the lifeboat. Dean learns that all of Grant's money actually legally belongs to Joanna, and wonders what can he give her that she doesn't already have. She says,
A little girl.
Thank you, Peter. That was Overboard. It was released on Wednesday, December 16th, 1987. The big movies at that time were
Three Men and a Baby, Throw Mama from the Train, Eddie Murphy Raw, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Fatal Attraction, Wall Street, and a re-release of Disney's Cinderella.
Peter, of those films, what would you be most interested in seeing?
Probably Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I want to be hip and say Throw Mama from the Train, but I'm sorry, I'm not that hip.
Well, I will have to recuse myself from this question because at the time I saw all of those.
Oh, wow.
Overboard struggled somewhat to earn back its $22 million budget during its original run in theaters, but it was a hit on cable and home video, and it has inspired multiple other films and TV shows, including a 2018 remake starring Anna Faris in the Kurt Russell role.
Why am I even trying to be a nurse? I'm going to be delivering pizzas and cleaning carpets for the rest of my life.
There were also remakes in India, South Korea, Russia, and Switzerland. Overboard was directed by Garry Marshall, and it was written by Leslie Dixon. Leslie is a New York writer-producer who's been working in film and television since the 1980s. Her other scripts include
Outrageous Fortune, Blind Date, Loverboy, Mrs. Doubtfire, and Limitless.
She's also worked on a lot of remakes and adaptations, including
The Thomas Crown Affair, Freaky Friday, The Heartbreak Kid, and Hairspray.
As a producer, her credits include
Gone Girl, the Madonna movie The Next Best Thing, and a TV series based on her film Limitless.
I thought it was a provocative idea, just verging on science fiction, but not really.
As for songs in this movie, the movie's score is by Alan Silvestri, the legendary New York-born composer best known for his collaborations with director Bob Zemeckis, including
the Back to the Future trilogy, Forrest Gump, The Polar Express, Death Becomes Her, and Castaway.
But he's done non-Zemeckis films too, including
The Avengers and some other MCU films, Predator, The Abyss, Lilo and Stitch, The Parent Trap, and the Night at the Museum trilogy.
Peter, what did you think of the score of this movie?
There were parts of the score that were just aggressively twangy.
It's like synthesized bluegrass.
Yes.
And that was starting to kill me over the course of the movie. This movie has not one, but two colorful local bands that play multiple songs. The band at the bowling alley is Thud, Gitman, and the Gutterballs, obviously a fictional band. Garry Marshall himself is their drummer. Their songs include The Irish Washerwoman and Won't You Come Home, Bill Bailey. Peter, what did you think of Thud, Gitman, and the Gutterballs?
When they started playing Won't You Come Home, Bill Bailey, I kept thinking of that one episode of American Dad where Roger takes over Steve's band. All they play are rock remixes of public domain songs.
I'm going to tell you about a little place I know. Little place called London Bridge. It's falling down!
That is a good comparison. Garry Marshall looks like he's having a ton of fun being the drummer for this fake band. The other band in the movie is the Wright Brothers, a real-life country rock group from French Lick, Indiana, that's been playing together since the early 1970s. Their main song in the movie, heard several times, is a cover of the 1950s R&B classic Jim Dandy. They also perform I Can't Help Falling in Love with You by Elvis Presley and Legs by ZZ Top, plus the traditional bluegrass favorite, the Arkansas Traveler.
There's a lot of bluegrass in this movie, even though it's set in the Pacific Northwest. That's where Elk Cove is. I don't know if that is accurate to the Pacific Northwest in the 1980s, or if it's just because they are using that as a shorthand for working class. Working class people in the 80s listened to a lot of bluegrass, apparently.
They do Jim Dandy so many times in this movie. That was another song that I love, but it was starting to kill me by the end of the movie because every few scenes with Jim Dandy to the rescue. Oh God, again with Jim Dandy. In Joanna's dream, we hear Old Lang Syne, perhaps indicating that she is flashing back to some New Year's Eve party that she once attended.
I think so, yeah.
The best part of that scene is that when the confetti starts pouring down on her, Goldie Hawn opens her mouth and she starts getting confetti in her mouth. I kind of thought that was a funny joke. Kurt Russell sings a bit of Zippity Doo-Dah from the 1946 film Song of the South.
Zippity Doo-Dah, zippity yay, my, oh my, I got a wonderful sleigh.
I think this is a little nod to Kurt's long history with Walt Disney.
He changes the lyrics a bit to, my oh my, I got a wonderful slave.
Especially considering the origin of that song, that is a troubling change in lyrics.
Yes.
Aboard the yacht, Grant and his girlfriends dance to Tequila by the Champs. A number one hit instrumental from 1958.
And one that I think most people today associate with Pee Wee Herman, which is fitting because he is the subject of a minor running gag in this film.
Dr. Norman Corman performs his song I Love You Madly.
I love you madly, though you treat me badly.
Dr. Corman.
The actor performing this role, Harvey Miller, wrote and performed the song himself. During the final rescue mission, we hear Semper Paratus, the official march of the U.S. Coast Guard. The movie's closing theme is Something Special by Randy Newman. I am an admitted fan of Randy Newman.
And a maniac.
Yes, and as such, I would kind of like to gloss over this particular song.
This is a very boring ballad.
As for our main cast members, I will start with Goldie Hawn as Joanna, a.k.a. Annie.
Caviar should be round and hard and of adequate size.
Goldie is a very popular and successful TV and film actress from Washington, D.C., who rocketed to fame in the late 1960s as a cast member on the sketch comedy show Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In. She soon parlayed that into a film career with an Oscar-winning role in 1972's Cactus Flower. Her subsequent films include
The Sugarland Express, Death Becomes Her, Bird on a Wire, The First Wives Club, Private Benjamin, Foul Play, Shampoo, and many more.
She has been romantically involved with Kurt Russell since 1983. They appeared together in Swing Shift in 1984 and a couple of Christmas Chronicles movies as Santa and Mrs. Claus just a few years ago. Peter, what did you think of Goldie Hawn as Joanna, aka Annie?
I think that she's basically given the most to do acting-wise. Joanna/Annie goes through like a very clear metamorphosis over the course of the movie. She starts out as this very self-serious, demanding person. Even after she gets amnesia, she is still the same person. She just doesn't remember who she is. Over the course of the film, she has to believably get invested in Dean and in the boys. And I think it is to Goldie Hawn's credit that she is able to make that believable. The moment where it all really clicks is when she gets her revenge on them for the plates prank, and when she sprays just everybody in the room down with a hose, and then she runs out laughing. That, I think, is the moment where it all clicks, because it feels like the first moment where she is having fun.
Goldie is so often cast as goofy, nice people. I think she enjoys playing an over-the-top villain.
I think that's also why Death Becomes Her is also one of her best movies. That is very much what she's doing there, too.
That was totally uncalled for.
We also have Kurt Russell as Dean Prophet.
You just needed something to take up your useless, empty, nail-polishing, toe-polishing, rich bitch sun-tanning day.
Kurt is an actor from Massachusetts who has maintained a near-constant presence in film and television since the early 1960s. After a few years of TV guest star roles, including appearances on Gilligan's Island and The Man from U.N.C.L.E., Kurt starred in numerous Walt Disney movies like
The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, The Barefoot Executive, and The Strongest Man in the World.
You may also know Kurt for his numerous collaborations with director John Carpenter, including
The Thing, Elvis, Escape from New York, and Big Trouble in Little China.
Kurt's other movies include
Backdraft, Captain Ron, Stargate, and Tombstone, plus a few Quentin Tarantino movies, Death Proof, The Hateful Eight, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Peter, what did you think of Kurt Russell as Dean Prophet?
Kurt Russell is given the task of making this objectively scummy guy likable and charming, and somebody that you root for to get together with Joanna at the end. And I think he mostly succeeds. If you don't think too hard about what he's doing, then he's very entertaining. And it is funny seeing him trying to genuinely own up to the truth and getting stonewalled by his sons and by Billy. And I do think it is to his credit that when Joanna gets her memories back and she realizes who Dean really is and what he did to her, he doesn't try to defend himself or anything. He just stands there, because what can he really do or say?
Garry Marshall was incredibly lucky that Kurt Russell is as charming and charismatic as he is, and that he has such obvious on-screen chemistry with Goldie Hawn, because otherwise this film would be appalling on a lot of levels. Kurt Russell can just turn on the charm in any scene. If he weren't able to do that, this movie wouldn't work at all. The film gives an introducing credit to the four boys playing the Prophet brothers.
Charlie and I get along very well, Mom. My twin brother and I are best friends.
That's Brian Price as Travis, the eldest, Jared Rushton as Charlie, the inventor, Jamie Wilde as Greg, the actor, and Jeffrey Wiseman as Little Joey, the illiterate. Jared was also one of the kids in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and did a fair amount of TV work in the 80s and 90s. Jeffrey was in the first two Home Alone movies. Brian and Jamie only have a handful of credits apiece. Peter, what did you think of the boys playing the Prophet brothers?
Overboard is basically a cartoon. The Prophet brothers are very much like cartoon ideas of rambunctious kids. And that being said, the actors playing them all do a very good job. They don't feel overly cutesy about it. They feel not so much realistic, but believable in this context. If their metamorphosis into more well-behaved boys is a bit abrupt, it does still work, and we do see that they are still themselves by the end, just better managed.
These are sitcom kids, basically, in the writing, but these four young actors at least make the kids feel somewhat believable, and they do have a fun rapport among themselves. We also have Edward Herman as Grant Staton III.
It's a very expensive gun. I have lots and lots of them.
Edward was a familiar and well-loved character actor who, like Goldie Hawn, was originally from Washington, D.C. In addition to his theater work, he appeared in dozens of films and TV shows from the early 1970s to the mid-2010s, often getting cast as wealthy and powerful men. He narrated countless commercials and historical documentaries and portrayed Franklin Delano Roosevelt numerous times. You may have seen Edward in such films as
The Aviator, The Lost Boys, Richie Rich, Annie, Nixon, and Intolerable Cruelty.
His TV credits include
How I Met Your Mother, Grey's Anatomy, Gilmore Girls, Oz, 30 Rock, and American Dad.
I'll always remember him from the 1982 made-for-TV movie The Electric Grandmother, where he plays the dad. Edward died of cancer in 2014 at the age of 71. Peter, what did you think of Edward Herrmann as Grant Staton III?
He is an absolute blast. In order to make the Dean and Joanna romance more believable, he basically has to be just straight up evil, because otherwise Dean looks way, way worse. And they do that. He abandons his wife at the hospital after he goes to visit her. He spends days just partying on his yacht, and he's a god at sea, and then he tries to shoot her. When it starts out, you think that, oh, this guy's just gonna be, like, really stuffy, and, like, yes, he is very stuffy, but he's also insane, and I love that for him.
He was one of my favorite things in this movie, and it's for all the reasons that you said. Instead of just being a rich snob, he's crazy. Edward Herrmann fully throws himself into this insane part. Edward Herrmann was one of my favorite character actors for years, and it was a joy to see him in this movie. Speaking of actors I've always really liked, we also have Katherine Helmond as Edith Mintz.
I am going to hire a mass of mercenaries to hunt you down and chop off the protruding parts of your body.
Katherine was an actress from Texas, best known for her role in two popular sitcoms. She was Jessica Tate on Soap and Mona Robinson on Who's the Boss, but she worked in film and TV from the early 1970s to the 2010s. Outside of her sitcom work, she's mostly remembered as a regular in the films of Terry Gilliam, including Brazil, Time Bandits, and Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Katherine died at the age of 89 in 2019. Peter, what did you think of Katherine Helmond as Edith Mintz?
She's Joanna's mother, and she is just an absolutely fabulous grand dame type. And I loved her running gag with her dog, Shiitake, who is this little hairy Shih Tzu guy.
Katherine Helmond also just throws herself with full abandon into this role of this completely out of touch rich woman who has eccentric taste in both decorating and fashion. We also have Mike Haggerty as Billy.
See, we used to play high school football together. You used to call him Mean Dean Prophet. He used to call me Bad Billy Pratt.
He's a returnee from Nothing in Common. Mike is a Second City alum who became known for his bushy mustache and thick Chicago accent. You may have seen him on
Friends, Seinfeld, Martin, Cheers, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and many more shows and movies.
He died far too soon in 2022. Peter, what did you think of Mike Haggerty as our sidekick, Billy?
I loved him. He's also got just this innate charm to him, much in the same way that Kurt Russell does, and I think that also helps the situation feel less creepy.
I would totally agree. Mike Haggerty is a delight as this character. Otherwise, Billy could be a very creepy character, but Mike Haggerty makes him lovable, and I'm so glad that Garry Marshall brought Mike Haggerty back from Nothing in Common to be in this movie. We also have Roddy McDowall as Andrew, the butler.
Most of us go through life with blinders on, madam, knowing only that one little station to which we were born.
Roddy was a British-born actor of stage, screen, and television who started acting as a child in the 1930s and then kept at it for the next 60 years. His early films include
How Green Was My Valley, My Friend Flicka, and Lassie Come Home.
Later in his career, he played the Bookworm on the Batman TV show and Cornelius and Caesar in the Planet of the Apes movies. Roddy's many other movies include
Cleopatra, The Poseidon Adventure, Fright Night and Fright Night 2, Bedknobs and Broomsticks, That Darn Cat, and A Bug's Life.
But I'll always think of him as Alan Musgrave, a.k.a. Molly Mock, in the dark satirical comedy Lord Love a Duck from 1966.
This is a confession, not a sermon. I did it. I am guilty.
Peter, what did you think of Roddy McDowall as Andrew the butler?
It's a pretty small role. For the first 3/4 of the movie, he doesn't really have much to do other than quietly react to his boss's insanity, but he does it very well. He does get the really good moment near the end where he tells Joanna that this situation is something that a lot of people don't get to have, and of course he gets to take his revenge on Grant at the end by throwing him off the yacht. So that was pretty great. And he is very good at making this character feel like a real person, even though by definition he doesn't get a lot to do.
This is a pretty standard comedic character, the dignified butler, but it was so nice to see Roddy McDowall in this movie. Because of Lord Love a Duck, he's one of my favorite actors, so I was glad to see him in Overboard, even if he doesn't really get that much to do. There are many cameos and supporting roles in this film worth mentioning. I'll point out Frank Buxton, a writer-director who worked on Happy Days, as KRAB broadcaster Wilbur Budd, Doris Hess as Principal Adele Burbridge, you might know Doris from The Naked Gun and Teen Wolf, Hector Elizondo, our pal, as the Garbage Scow captain, character actor Richard Stahl as the doctor at the Elk Cove Hospital, comedian and game show host Ray Combs as the cop at the hospital, and TV writer Harvey Miller, who worked with Garry Marshall many times and also wrote Goldie Hawn's movies Private Benjamin and Protocol, as Dr. Norman Corman. Peter, of all those fine folks, who stood out to you the most?
I really loved everything about the KRAB newsroom. I loved the detail about it being family run and this slightly ramshackle operation that nevertheless filled an important niche in their community. And it was fun seeing Hector Elizondo as the Portuguese garbage scow operator. Even if it was a bit cartoonish, probably would be the charitable way to describe it.
Well, yes.
Foca means seal in Portuguese.
Oh, I see.
It's seal.
But I'm glad you picked up on the KRAB news station, which is a very odd operation indeed. I found that completely charming, and it's something that the movie didn't have to do. It's just a wacky little extra touch. It's a flourish. He's not a cast member, but I want to mention one member of the crew. The movie's insane and wonderful costumes were designed by Wayne Finkelman, who worked with Goldie Hawn again on Bird on a Wire. His other films include The Golden Child, Scrooged, and Quigley Down Under. He died at the age of 47 in 1994. Wayne was some kind of mad genius on this movie, and clearly Garry Marshall gave him license to go way over the top. As for cultural and historical references in Overboard, one of the main locations in the movie is a luxury yacht called the SS Immaculata.
Dock 5, the Immaculata. Over there.
In real life, this was a 130-foot super yacht called the Atessa. It was later renamed the Huntress. It is privately owned and later appeared in the movie Indecent Proposal. Peter, what did you think of that yacht?
It's a nice yacht. I don't know much about yachts, though.
I want a yacht. What else you got besides my yacht?
Elk Cove, Oregon, the film setting, is fictional. Overboard was shot in Newport, Oregon, plus various places in California, including Fort Bragg, Mendocino, and San Pedro Bay. A sign proclaims Oak Cove to be the home of the Tillamook County Crab Feed. Tillamook is a real county in Oregon, famous for its crab, but the crab feed is not real. Aww. The sign also includes several references to fraternal and charity organizations, including Soroptimist, a service group for women founded in the 1920s, the Loyal Order of Moose, founded in 1888, and the Freemasons. You can see the Masonic symbol of the square and compass with the letter G, which stands for God, Geometry, and Great Architect of the Universe. So, Peter, there is Masonic imagery in Overboard with Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell.
My God, somebody tell the Illuminati.
Freemasons run the country.
Ew.
Joanna is correct that cedar is the preferred wood for closets because of its ability to repel moths and other pests. The earthy smell of the wood, so pleasant to humans, is repellent to vermin. I did not know that. Did you?
Now I do.
Grant's favorite TV show is Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, a popular syndicated TV show that ran from 1984 to 1995 and was hosted by a British entertainment writer named Robin Leach.
Lifestyles gets the vote from all the chief executives, and with that seal of approval, our 5th bubbly season gets underway.
I'm not surprised that Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous was a real TV show of the 1980s. If any decade was going to have that, it would be the 1980s.
The movie's plot hinges on amnesia or memory loss. While amnesia is rare in real life, the condition has been a staple of movie plots since at least the 1910s. There have been scientific papers about how the condition is depicted unrealistically in movies and TV shows and how this affects the expectations of patients and their family members. Overboard is cited in at least one such paper. In pop culture, the condition usually means that someone's past has been wiped out following a traumatic event. In real life, patients with amnesia have difficulty learning new information or forming new memories.
So does that mean that the Adam Sandler movie 50 First Dates is actually a realistic-ish depiction of amnesia?
It is actually closer to the truth than this movie. Yes.
My God.
When told that her name is Annie Goolahee, Joanna asks if she grew up in Dogpatch.
Annie Goolahee? Where in God's name did I grow up? Dogpatch?
Oh. This is the fictional mountain town from the comic strip Lil Abner. It was depicted as a ramshackle, behind-the-times community of lazy hillbillies. Do people still know what Dogpatch is?
I don't think so. Lil Abner is fascinating because it was this massive cultural juggernaut. It got a Broadway musical adaptation that also got adapted into a movie, but it has faded from the cultural consciousness in a way that Calvin and Hobbes and Peanuts and Doonesbury and Pogo have not. I wonder how much of that is because Al Cap, the creator, was kind of a scumbag, or how much of that is just that Lil Abner is just terminally unhip.
The Prophet family owns numerous toy robots. They're scattered throughout the house and the property, but the one I noticed most was the Robotron RT2 from 1985. I had that exact toy when I was a kid, and I still own it now. I also noticed talking robot number 1031, made in Hong Kong in the 1960s. The Prophet boys are thrilled to come into possession of a dirty magazine.
Hey, a dirty magazine.
What they have is Playboy's Playmate Review number 2 from 1986 featuring Kathy Shower on the cover. Do you think they took out the pages from the middle when they gave it to the kids, or do you think they just gave them the magazine?
I hope that they took out the pages, but it is possible that they did not.
Joey constantly speaks in the voice of Pee Wee Herman.
Hi, Bob. My name's Joe.
A falsetto child?
Hey, he thinks he's Pee Wee Herman.
I love Pee Wee Herman.
This is something that child actor Jeffrey Wiseman brought to the role. It was not written into the script at all. Paul Rubens had been playing Pee-wee on stage since the late 1970s, but the character really took off in the 1980s thanks to the movie Pee-wee's Big Adventure in 1985 and the TV show Pee-wee's Playhouse in 1986. In this film, we see a vintage Pee-wee t-shirt from designer Stanley DeSantis, depicting the character in the style of Andy Warhol. What did you think of all the Pee-wee Herman content in this film?
It was fun. It was a nice little character touch. I liked that Joey had more going on than just being cute and not being able to read.
One of the most prominent props in the film is an antique piano made by the Emerson Piano Company of Boston. This model appears to be in rough shape, but Dean might want to take better care of it. Emerson has been out of business since the outset of World War II, and its pianos are now very valuable collector's items. So, Dean, if you need money, clean up that piano and you can sell it for $45,000. During the first dinner table scene, Greg, one of the fraternal twins, blatantly drinks a Budweiser from a can. No one seems to notice or care.
It was the 80s. You could get away with that in the 80s, apparently.
The scarecrow in the film is designed to look like Malcolm McDowell in A Clockwork Orange.
There was me. That is Alex, and my 3 droogs.
This is an in-joke since producer-actor Roddy McDowell was frequently mistaken for Malcolm because of their similar names. Did you see the Malcolm McDowell scarecrow?
Yes. I was a little bit confused by that.
Travis is seen reading the June 2nd, 1986 issue of Sports Illustrated. The cover story is about the Montreal Canadiens winning the Stanley Cup.
Is there a void in your life? Fill it with cup.
One of Grant's girlfriends on the boat is named Tofuti Klein.
Ah, Tofuti, where are you when I need you? Tofuti Klein, 999.
Tofuti is the name of a New Jersey company that makes soy-based, dairy-free products for vegans and the lactose intolerant. I knew it because of a very funny sketch on Mr. Show where a Silicon Valley entrepreneur forces his employees to eat a lot of tofuti on the job.
Work is play. Tofuti break today. Tofuti time!
The Prophet children come down with a bad case of poison oak. Poison oak is most commonly found in California and throughout the Pacific Northwest. Wherever shrubs and trees are present, its leaves contain an oil that causes people to break out in a red, itchy rash. The rash is not contagious and is treated with calamine lotion, steroids, and antihistamines.
You're gonna need an ocean of calamine lotion.
The depiction of amnesia in this movie is not accurate, but the depiction of poison oak is. But you'll be happy to know that the Schwartzman-Heinlein test is fictional.
What are the Schwartzman-Heinlein tests?
Placement tests. We find them very valuable in measuring intelligence and potential.
Don't worry, you will never be asked to take the Schwartzman-Heinlein placement test.
All we had were PSATs. So many PSATs.
Joanna suggests theming the miniature golf course around the 7 wonders of the world. The list of 7 wonders has changed many times as various wonders keep getting destroyed, but the first list was compiled in 1572 and includes the Great Pyramid of Giza, the Colossus of Rhodes, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, and the Lighthouse at Alexandria, among others. Of those, only the pyramid is still standing. Joanna mentions the Taj Mahal in India, which wasn't one of the original 7 wonders, but has since been included on updated versions of the list, as has the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Despite what this movie says, Mount Rushmore has never been considered one of the 7 wonders. Neither has the Parthenon in Greece, the Eiffel Tower in Paris, or St. Basil's Cathedral in Russia. As for the Grand Canyon, it was declared the 8th wonder of the world in 2006. After USA Today compiled its list of the new 7 wonders of the world, outraged readers demanded that the Grand Canyon be added to the list. It is very confusing what gets onto the list and what doesn't.
It's inherently hard to classify. You're not only judging works of art or works of nature, you're judging what is inherently the most wondrous, and that is wildly hard to classify.
How do you quantify wonder? Now, in naming wonders, Billy mentioned Stevie Wonder and Wonder Bread. Stevie's real name is Steveland Hardaway Morris. He was nicknamed Little Stevie Wonder as a child prodigy and used that name for the rest of his life.
And he is considered as being a genius of our time. Ladies and gentlemen, let you and I make him feel happy with a nice ovation as we meet and greet Little Stevie Wonder. How about it?
Wonder Bread, meanwhile, was one of the first sliced breads to be sold nationwide. It was founded in Indiana in 1921.
Eat Wonder Bread. You want to go bigger and stronger, don't you?
Golly, sure.
Okay.
Joey and Joanna read a Batman comic, apparently from the 1980s. It looks like they've taken the cover off the book for copyright reasons. They mentioned a couple of Batman villains, Dr. Death and Joker. Dr. Death actually predates Joker and was Batman's first supervillain. You can also see a 1984 ad for Mario Brothers from Atari. This was the game before Super Mario Brothers.
Mario, where are you?
It's Atari Mario Brothers with Mario from Donkey Kong, his brother Luigi, and lots of crazy creatures.
Boy, talk about being overshadowed by your sequel. People have forgotten about that 1984 Mario Brothers game. And Dr. Death, he's got to get a call into his agent, because where's his movie? Where's his TV show?
Everybody loves clowns. I'm sorry, Dr. Death.
Greg announces he got the role of Tiny Tim in the school play. I must say it was a bold choice to stage a Christmas Carol in what seems to be the middle of summer.
Actually, wait, when is this? Like, okay, maybe it's spring and the Statons are like on an early vacation, because if it was summer they would not be in school at all.
It also didn't seem like they had just moved into that house. That house seemed extremely lived in.
They're very messy.
Dean tells the tragic story of Arturo, a Portuguese fisherman, and Catarina, a governor's daughter.
The problem was that Catarina's father was the territorial governor, and I guess he didn't want his only little girl running around with a lowly fisherman, so he told Arturo he'd have to ship off.
Their love was forbidden by Catarina's father, and they drowned while trying to find each other in the fog. Numerous websites have described this as an ancient legend told across many lands, but I cannot find any solid evidence that it predates this movie. It has since inspired paintings and poems, but the legend of Arturo and Catarina is in fact fake. It was made up for this movie.
It's like when X-Men Origins Wolverine made up a myth about Wolverines and the moon, and a bunch of people thought it was a real First Nations myth, and so now you find it on websites, but it's not real because it says that Wolverines howl at the moon, which Wolverines don't do.
Charlie says he feels like one of the goddamned Brady Bunch. That classic family sitcom was made by Paramount, the same studio as Happy Days, and numerous props and actors from the Brady Bunch wound up on Happy Days. Recently, I learned that even the menus at Arnold's are actually from the Brady Bunch.
Oh, wow.
And Joanna says that cheating is the #1 cause of divorce in America. Depending on which organization you believe, the main cause of divorce is actually either money or lack of commitment, but at least one law firm states that infidelity is the leading culprit in divorce cases, and Psychology Today agrees.
This is absolutely fascinating.
When the golf course opens, we see that one of the holes is designed to look like Mount St. Helens, an active volcano in Washington state. It's definitely not one of the wonders of the world. It's not on any of the lists, but its eruption in 1980 was one of the deadliest and costliest natural disasters of the decade. Another hole is designed to look like the Statue of Liberty, except the flame from her torch has been replaced by a giant golf ball. And I had to wonder if people in the Pacific Northwest would have fond memories of Mount St. Helens.
Probably not. That feels a little bit like novelizing their trauma.
Yeah, or maybe it was just to show, we're not afraid of it anymore, so we can...
Oh, yeah, maybe.
The kids sarcastically speculate that the limo parked outside their house belongs to Daddy Warbucks.
Whose car is that? Maybe it's a rich relative we don't know about. Sure, it's Daddy Warbucks.
The wealthy businessman who debuted in the comic strip Little Orphan Annie in 1924 and has appeared in countless other media since.
The musical is still a classic.
Oh, yeah.
It still gets revived every few years. People do amateur productions constantly. Annie and Warbucks will never die.
Grant tells Dr. Corman, we need analysis, not Moon River. He's referring to the song written by Henry Mancini and Johnny Mercer for the 1961 film Breakfast at Tiffany's. The song won an Oscar and a Grammy and became closely associated with singer Andy Williams.
I didn't think he was going to do Moon River, but then, bam, second encore.
Though many other singers and musicians have covered it in numerous styles. Any opinions on Moon River as a song?
It's not really one of my favorites, but I do like it a lot. I probably like it better than the movie itself.
Grant says he's going to rid himself of this albatross once and for all. He's referring to the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, a lyrical ballad written by English poet Samuel Taylor Coleridge in 1798.
Does this bird belong to you?
So, Peter, were there any outstanding Garry Marshall fashions in Overboard?
Oh my god, yes. If you're going to have rich people in your movie, they need to have fabulous outfits, because otherwise, what is even the point? We get off to an amazing start, because in the first scene where we meet Joanna, she is wearing a white bathing suit, and over that, she is wearing this cover-up that has motherfucking epaulets on the shoulders. They are gold. They are sparkly. They are amazing.
That swimsuit was my first big laugh in the movie, but we shouldn't even overlook what Kurt Russell is wearing in these early scenes.
He's wearing jeans and this ridiculously revealing tank top, and he does this thing where he pulls at the front of his tank top when he's thinking to give off a better view of his chest. It's great.
Can you even describe the outfits that Katherine Hellman wears in this film?
Yes. During the scene where she's calling up Grant to threaten him to find her daughter, she's wearing this dress that I can only describe as goth Glinda the Good. It's It's black, it's got these massive poofy sleeves, and we see that she's getting her portrait painted during the scene, so I guess she knew that she needed to go all out, and it is spectacular. And it's not during one of the rich people scenes, but I do want to give a shout out to the all denim ensembles that Annie and Dean are wearing when they go to the school. They don't know that the other person is there. They did not do this on purpose. They're just both all in denim. Denim jeans, denim overalls, denim jackets, I think a denim shirt. This is how working class people dress, I guess.
In the mind of Wayne Finkelman, yes, it is.
It actually got me thinking about what we say when we describe fictional rich people as cartoonish, because something I've been thinking a lot about lately is how rich people in real life are also cartoonish. Why are they this evil? They don't need to be this evil, and yet they are. And yet, they never seem to be having fun with it. They never do anything exciting with their money. All the stuff they do with their money is just to make the world a worse place. I think that's why it's so important for fictional rich people to be more stylish with it. I don't want rich people who just wear $1,000 t-shirts and jeans. Give me something I can feel, you know?
So, Peter, did you have any other observations that you wanted to make about Overboard?
I found the scene early on where Joanna's on the phone with her mother and she says, if you have a baby, you won't be the baby anymore. That squares interestingly with what Annie says later on to Dean about how you have to grow up. You can't just be a pal to your sons. They need like an actual adult father figure in their lives. That is maybe the most charitable read of the film, that it's about two immature people who help each other grow up.
I would say that that is a charitable read of the film, but not an inaccurate one. One thing I liked about this film was that both Joanna and Dean are deeply, deeply flawed. It's not about one nice person and one mean person. These are two people with massive personality problems who somehow form a complete person by the end of the movie. So, Peter, I will ask that age-old timeless question, was this movie any good?
I think this movie is good if you don't think too hard about it. It's basically a cartoon in live-action form, much like, say, a Pepe Le Pew cartoon. If you think too hard about it, it starts to break down. It would have been easy to see this as a movie about a woman who finds fulfillment in having her identity subsumed into that of a wife and mother that was not hers to begin with. I think that the movie is on some level aware of that, and I think that it is making the effort to not just be that. I don't know if this being written by a woman necessarily makes it better, but I do think it would have felt worse if it had been written by a man. It helps that this is an absolutely stacked cast. Everyone is giving 110%, and Hawn and Russell really do have spectacular chemistry together. Not every real-life romantic couple necessarily has great chemistry on camera, but they absolutely do. And yeah, that definitely helps this movie a lot.
My struggle while watching this movie was to watch it with internet brain or rom-com brain. If you watch it with internet brain, you have to think about the legality of this, the morality of this, and the practicality of this. And it comes up short in all of those ways. It would be morally reprehensible. It would be totally impractical and wouldn't work for a variety of reasons. And it would be wildly illegal as well. So you have to approach this with rom-com brain, and you have to turn off all of that stuff and just buy into the goofiness of this story and just allow yourself to be swept away with the current, basically, when you watch this movie. And that's how you enjoy it. Like for the first hour of this movie, the first time I was screening it, my brain was just rejecting all of it. I was just saying, no, that wouldn't work. No, that's not possible. No, that is morally reprehensible. No, no, no. And then after a while, I just gave up on that and just said, okay, I'm just going to go with it and have fun with it. And Overboard becomes so much more enjoyable when you view it that way. I know that Garry Marshall tries to make his movies and television shows enjoyable for the actors who work on them. And I am positive that the people who worked on Overboard were having a lot of fun making it. And I think that spirit of fun is very much evident in this film. This film is totally ridiculous if you think about it at all. So the key, Peter, is don't think about it at all.
Yes.
I'm going to have to say that I would recommend that people watch Overboard. Or what would you say? Would you recommend people watch it?
I will neither recommend it nor warn people against it. I will say that if you should watch it, just keep some things in mind, and that way you will have a good time.
You could have some fun watching some great actors going through their paces here, and some truly lovely Pacific Northwest scenery.
This makes the Pacific Northwest look gorgeous.
So, Peter, how can people keep up with us and find out about all the wonderful things that we are doing?
Listeners can follow me on Blue Sky at peterwolfrank.bsky.social.
They can follow me on Blue Sky at joeblevins.bsky.social. They can find us online at thesedaysaroours.libsyn.com, and they can email us with questions, comments, and concerns at thesedaysaroourspodcast@gmail.com. So, Peter, what on earth do we have on the docket next time we get together?
Well, we've discussed a classic if problematic romantic comedy, and next week we are discussing a classic movie about female friendship, perhaps a bit overshadowed by the song it spawned, but still much beloved. It's beaches.
Peter, I think this might be the first of Garry Marshall's movies that was a true multimedia phenomenon, just a huge sensation when it came out. This will be a big responsibility to talk about this film, so see you later, alligator.
In a while, crocodile.
Ronnie, dig my clothes, yeah, boy. One button roll. Well, you know I'm sharp as a tack. Say, lend your Cadillac. Gotta go to a party, yeah. Please lend me your shirt. Well, then can't take it, you know, can't make it. I won't see my baby no more. Tickle, splash, splash. Tell me how long this rain lasts. The rain keeps stopping, there ain't no stopping. Tell me how long this rain lasts.
I'm a short, fat